Hi, this is Joseph Anthony of tappingwithmusic.com. Thank you so much for stopping by. This is going to be another Waldorf-inspired video for teachers and homeschooling parents. These are just some general guidelines for the lower grades when you're preparing a new block. In the Waldorf system, we most often teach in blocks, chunks of time, 2 to 4 weeks of time, where we are intensely looking at one particular subject matter. Not to the exclusion of everything else, but just a main focus: language arts, math, nature stories, whatever it is. So this is really for the lower grades, first, second, maybe third-ish grade, but mainly the lower grades. And these are just suggestions that I have picked up along the way, learned from experience, the hard way and sometimes the easy way. So the first thing about planning for a new block. I would encourage you, strongly encourage you, to not do your block planning over Christmas break, or spring break, or winter break. Take a break. Good God, it's okay to relax sometimes. Summertime's a different story. Take some time in the summer, however that works for you. But when you get a break during the school year, your students, even the first and second graders, will survive if you are in the middle of an arithmetic block and then you get a week off in February for winter break and then you pick up math when you come back. They'll be okay, I promise you. So take a break when you can take a break. Enjoy yourself. I'm not saying not do anything, but take a break. And I encourage you not to prepare your block over a break for yourself. So that's the first thing. and you know, it's possible if you utilize your prep periods. Some people, you know, even in the school I work in, they call them free periods. I don't call them free periods. I don't consider them free. I consider them prep periods, and I try real hard to prep and do things so I don't have to do it on the weekends, and I certainly, hopefully, don't have to do it on a spring break, right? So be economical in how you use your time. Of course, it's great to go and hang out by the water cooler and chit-chat. We all need that, yeah? We all need that community stuff. And it's also okay to go off by yourself and prep. So there you go. So when you're starting a new block, what I try to do is keep in mind head, heart, and hands. And to think of the goals academically, artistically, and just heart, soul, spiritually, hand-wise you want to do for that block. General guidelines. Leaving room for angels, improvisation, the relationship you have with your students in your sleep life, because they do have input, you know. Your students should have input into how you prepare for your block, both directly and indirectly. You're always informally and somewhat informally assessing them, so you're going to base your block on what you feel they need and or want. So identify the things and goals you want to do for that block in a general way and perhaps very specific. I want to get the letter A done. I want to get addition done. I'm going to focus this. So, good. Do all that. With the knowledge that in the lower grades especially, at least in the way I look at it, you're watching my video, this is my opinion. It's not the opinion of my school or Osn or anybody else. This is my opinion. Lower grades, the main goals are to feel comfortable, these students to feel comfortable with themselves and each other, to love learning. Those are the main goals. The academics and all that stuff, they got years to do that. So academics are great, but I would encourage you, I'm saying this, so you don't pile it on so thick that you're stressed and then they're stressed. This isn't an exercise. Preparing for a block isn't an exercise in piling stuff onto yourself or them and pressuring yourself with so much to do that you freak out. This block isn't to impress anyone in the school, parents or otherwise. This is for you and your students. So I encourage you to make it easy on yourself. I know that's a bit heretical, because some people in the Waldorf circles think you're not doing it right if you're not stressed out, freaked out, working every second of the day. I don't agree with that. So if you cram too much in, academically especially, in those lower grades, you lose the balance of head, heart, hands. Okay, another thing. I make one big new chalkboard drawing a month, or a block. And I used to, back in the old days, do one a week. And that's a lot. I think it's a lot. So I do one, and I leave it there. Maybe it's a drawing I add on to and build things into. But I do one main chalkboard drawing that represents something, a story, an image for that block. For a circle, I add 2 or 3, and really no more than that, new verses in a block. 2 or 3 new songs, including flute songs, in that 2 or 3. Because you can always build on one verse. You can change its rhythm. You know, so much of the Waldorf verses, at least in English, are da-dun, da-da, 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 you know what I mean? And you can go into a trance listening to a recitation. So change the rhythm up. You know, have them stomp. Do meaningful movements. So when you come up with movements for your class, for a new block, make them meaningful. And by that I mean, these are not movements you're making because you feel you have to, or to impress your colleagues and or the parents of your class. These are meaningful movements to your students, things you think would help them in one way, shape, or form. So when you create those movements and gestures and the poems, build them, change them, break them up into parts. It's okay to, you know, today we're going to say this poem as if we're 97. You know, do those kinds of things. Include mental math and mental language arts in every block, no matter what you're doing. If you're focusing on language arts for that block, make sure you're still doing some mental math and in every block. And they can be simple things. You know, I'm thinking of a number between 12 and 20, and it's an even number. You know, you can do all kinds of things. I just lost my train of thought right there. So don't do what I just did, because that exercise is completely silly. But anyway, you get the idea. Do some kind of mental math with your students in every block. And mental language arts. You can ask them to spell things, or give me a painting word, or you know, an adjective, or something like that. So, we got not doing a block prep over your break. We got, you know, outline your head, heart, hand goals for every block. Do one big chalkboard drawing for the month or block. Do just a few, 2 or 3 new songs, new verses, flute songs per block. It doesn't have to be like 400 new songs and verses. I don't have my circles be 45 minutes. I'm more of a homeopathic circle person, where the smaller doses the better. And of course it really depends on your class. If they need more circle and more movement, do it. If they don't, if you don't want to move your chairs and desks out of the way and you just want to have them standing behind their chairs doing these movements, that's great. Or if you want to move the desks out and do it in a circle, great. I call it circle, but I mean just movement activities, songs, poems, and all that. It doesn't have to be in a circle. I don't believe Steiner ever said anything about circle. So, anyway, when you're coming up with new stories for your block, I would just encourage you to do the first couple of stories. And there is no story police. So I memorize just the basic gist of the stories I want to tell. I learn them in my heart, and I leave space to change what I want to change for my class, pedagogically, academically, whatever. If I change a fairy tale, a saint legend, I don't believe I'm infringing on the spiritual copyright of whoever wrote that legend. I want to tell that class a story that's meaningful to them, And so I'm going to change it however I see fit. And I'm going to trust myself enough to be inspired in the moment, to say what I need to say. So I get the gist of the story I want to tell. And then I leave some space. I don't personally memorize it word for word for word and freak out, because it just interrupts the heart connection between you and your students. If you're more focused on, am I getting this right, then how are they receiving this? What are they getting out of what I'm saying? So, careful how you memorize a story. What else? Be enthusiastic about whatever the topic is. And if you find yourself in a position where you have a 10-hour to-do list, and that happens, you have 10 hours and it's Sunday and you got to go to school tomorrow, and because of your personal life and everything, things have happened and you got to prep this block today for tomorrow. I've been teaching almost 20 years. That has happened to me a couple times, I confess. And if that does happen to you, do what you need to do for that day, the next day. And then use your prep periods properly to get yourself caught up. And if you go into school on a Sunday and you've got 10 hours worth of work, I would encourage you to only do 2. Be economical. Say, it's 1 o'clock, I'm getting out of here by 3 or 4 o'clock at the latest, and I'm done. And I will do in that time what I can do. And if you get into your classroom and you don't even prep, you start cleaning and tending the space, that means something unconsciously and sometimes very consciously to your students. Some teachers change desk orders every couple of days. I don't. I keep it for a month or 2. Because for me, one of the least fun things about teaching is coming up with a desk order. So I try to make it easy on myself and only do it every now and then. So I hope you found this helpful. Don't prep your blocks over your breaks. Take a break, for crying out loud. Make sure you know what head, heart, hands things you want to get done. Know your students enough to give them 2 or 3 meaningful songs and verses, speech exercises, mental math, language art, mental language arts. And use your time wisely and economically, your prep periods wisely. Meaningful movements, breathe and have fun prepping for a new block. It's not about pressure. It's not about stressing out. Breathe and have fun. So I hope you found that helpful. And if you have any questions or want to talk to me about anything, feel free to go to my website, tappingwithmusic.com. Drop me a line, and I'd be happy to help in any way I can. Thanks for watching. Take care.